Hello and a very warm welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about the real estate market in Lithuania's capital, Vilnius, and give you 10 reasons why I think this could be a good place to put your money in the real estate market. I'll give you a couple of disadvantages and my conclusion at the end. So let's get straight down to it. Number one, I want to talk about the lowish prices. Now, prices have been rising in Vilnius and they are higher. They are notably higher than Riga, but they're still very, very reasonable at an average of 1,750 euros per square meter. Although new apartments in the city centre and the old town do go for a lot more, so we are talking between about 3,000 to 5,000 euros per square meter. Now, if you go outside the city centre and to more residential areas of Vilnius, you can get property obviously a lot less expensive. So new apartments in these areas could cost between 1,700 euros and 2,200 euros per square meter. Number two, I want to talk about the solid rental yields. Now, they are not spectacular, but on average you can get around 4.5% gross. However, if you do go for smaller apartments in the city central or the new town and the old town, you can get around 6%. Number three, I want to talk about the exceptionally low buy-sell costs, except for new builds where VAT added on is a hefty 21%. But if you don't go for an absolutely new property, the buy-sell costs are very low. So if, on the buying side, you are looking at notary and registration fees of less than 1%, and the seller fees entail the estate agent fees, which are between 1.5% to 3%. So you should actually pay less than 5% buy-sell costs, and that is extremely low. There are not many countries that have buy-sell costs that low. Number four, I want to talk about the excellent GDP growth. So taking years 2011 to 2019, the growth ranged from 2% to 6%. And last year, the pandemic year 2020, GDP actually only dropped by 0.8%. And that is extremely low when compared to other European countries. Let's take one example, the UK, where GDP actually dropped by 9.9%. Number five, I want to talk about the improving employment conditions. So, back in 2010, unemployment rate in Lithuania was 17.8%, but by 2019, this had dropped markedly to 6.2%, although in 2020 it did rise to 8.4% due to the pandemic. But what is even more important is the salary growth has been spectacular in Lithuania, similar to Latvia. So if we take the years 2015 to 2020, ranged from 4.8% to an incredible 14.2%. And taking the same time frame, inflation ranged from minus 0.7% to 3.7%. So you've got some real amazing wage growth here. And just to put that into context, in 2015, the average net salary in Lithuania was 563 euros per month net. But in 2020, this had risen to 916 euros per month net. So it's really, really spectacular there. Number six, I just wanted to say Lithuania is a fully fledged member of the EU, NATO, it's in the Euro and in the Schengen area. Number seven, one of my favorites, total government debt to GDP. Now in 2019 in Lithuania, it was 35.9%. In 2020, it had grown to 47.3% due to the pandemic. And even this year, it's expected to reach around 53%. But it's still much, much lower than Western European countries. So let's take UK, Spain, Italy, France, where you're looking 100% plus. Number eight, I want to talk about the increasing investment from abroad. So in particular, the fintech industry has benefited a hell of a lot from foreign investment. And let's just take 1 year, from 2019 to 2020, the number of companies increased in this sector by 30%. Number 9, I want to talk about the highly educated population. So, especially amongst the young, there are over 125,000 students in Lithuania, and considering Lithuania is a small country, and a system that over the last 15 years or so has enabled Lithuania to have one of the highest graduation rates in Europe. Number 10, I just briefly want to touch on other things which I think are helping the Lithuanian real estate market. So the number of tourists has increased significantly over the last 10 years or so. The population of Vilnius itself has gone up slightly over the last 10 years and is expected to remain at least steady and perhaps increase by 1 or 2, 3,000. Now, I know it's not a lot, but when you compare it to Riga, and I did a video on Riga about a couple of weeks ago, the population of Riga is going right down, but this is not the case in Vilnius. Also, I want to briefly touch on the reasonable taxes. So capital gains tax is 15%, rental income tax is 15%, with deductions of 30% allowed. Now, if you get more than 162,324 euros in a year of rental income, the portion above that, you'll pay 20%, but I think that's unlikely for most investors. Now, also gift tax, there's no gift tax, there's no inheritance tax. And property tax up to 150,000 euros, you pay 0%. Between 150,000 to 300,000 euros, you'll pay 0.5%. On the portion 300,000 euros to 500,000 euros, you'll pay 1%. If you do go for the very expensive property over €500,000 euros, you will pay 2% in property tax. Now, I'm not saying these taxes are particularly low, but they're not particularly high either. Obviously, when you buy property abroad, there are disadvantages, and this is the case in Lithuania and Vilnius as well. So I just want to touch on the yields are not bad, but they're not amazing in Vilnius. Lithuania is much more pro-tenant than Latvia. And also, and I think I don't agree with this, but Vilnius is perceived as a less glamorous city to visit than Riga and Tallinn. Although I just want to repeat, I don't agree with that at all. I've been a couple of times to Vilnius. It's a lovely place. Now, if you do decide to go ahead with an investment here, what should you do? Well, I would buy a one-bedroom property in either the old town, new town, or city centre, and I would buy a resale, so a fairly new property. I would not buy a new one to avoid the VAT of 21%. I would go for a one bedroom simply because the yields are better, and at the upper end, so if you buy a really expensive property in Vilnius, you're going to pay a lot more property tax. So I would either buy the old town, new town, city centre, and again, one bedroom, let's say for, I don't know, something like around 200,000 euros, maybe less if you can, and rent that out at 6%, and you'll be pretty good not to pay the property taxes. Anyway, those are my thoughts for today. Please let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with my perception that Vilnius is a good place to put your money in the real estate market? Anyway, if you like my video, please do click the like button. It does help this video get out to more people on YouTube. If you like my channel in general, please do subscribe, and I'll see you very soon on the next video. Thank you and goodbye for today.